Happy Sunday, everybody. I don't know if I should say good morning or good afternoon because, of course, my guest Eliza is up in Canada and I'm down here in California. But Eliza, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We're here this morning as part of the Mama Said project, which is a project that I started with my friend Michelle for moms who need an outlet, and creativity is kind of my outlet of choice. So Eliza, thank you so much for being here, and I'd love
my pleasure.
I'd love for you to just share a little bit about where you are and what you do, and introduce yourself.
All right. Well, I'm in Quebec, Canada. I don't speak a word of French, but I get by. Very French husband. So I'm an artist and a writer, and but it's basically, that's only been in the last 2 years that I've been able to make that statement. So and I'm 53. So really what happened was that I dabbled in everything as a kid, you know, playing piano and drawing and writing little stories and things like that. And then I put my creativity on hold for 35 years. Let's just put it on a shelf for various reasons, you know, that I'm sure we share as women, you know, fear, doubt, lack of validation, the whole bit. Married very young. I was 20. Had 3 kids. They were born in 1985, 1986, and 1987.
Woo!
Yeah. So married for 8 years. I was divorced by the time I was 27. Hopped into I'm going to be honest, I hopped into a toxic relationship for 16 years. And when I turned 40, things started to, you know, change for me. And I left that relationship. I spent a whole year to myself, facing all the fears and doubts I built up over a lifetime. Met an amazing man who's also creative, but still not really embracing my creativity. And then something happened shortly after, a couple things happened shortly after I turned 50. So my dad had an accident, a diving accident while he was body surfing in Spain, and he became a quadriplegic at the age of 80. Oh. Very vibrant man. Very talented artist, but kept it to himself. So on his deathbed, he told me that he regretted his life and that he never embraced who he really was, and that basically he was going to his deathbed not being who he wanted to be. Wow. Afterwards, when I was clearing up the estate, I found boxes and boxes. My brothers and I found boxes and boxes and boxes of my dad's artwork going back till age 5. So 75 years worth of art that had never seen the light of day had been in boxes. And then 2 months later, to the hour, my mother died. So a couple of messages there, obviously. Life is very short. They're both very vibrant people up to that point. So life is very short. And I vowed that I was not going to my deathbed with my creativity in a box, gathering dust in a box. So I set up a studio, and I vowed that for a solid year, I was just going to take art courses and dabble in it and try absolutely everything. And so that was a couple of years ago. So
that's right about the time that I met you. We met in the blogging course. And
yes, actually taking Lisa's journal course was part of my commitment. That was one of the courses I took. So now I'm actually a paid artist, and I'm doing what I absolutely love, and I have my own studio. Fortunately, we just got a property in the country, 15 acres and surrounded by trees, and I have my own studio. But what really rammed home the importance of what I was doing for myself was I had a conversation with my 29-year-old son last week, and he had a phenomenal artist in his own right, but again, holding himself back. Well, he posted a serial story that he's writing on his blog, and this isn't mom bragging. This was absolutely brilliant stuff. And so I told him that, and he said to me, "Mom," he said, and we've had a rough go, you know, being in my children and I had to heal. I had to heal, and then I had to heal my relationship with my kids. So we did. That's what happened during my 40s. He said to me, "Mom, in the last 2 years, I've seen you embrace your creative confidence, and that has given me the confidence to put my soul, my creative soul out there." So your group is all about moms. And so this is my son at 29. So if you can display, embrace your own creativity when your kids are 2, 5, 10, imagine what incredible gift you're giving them.
Eliza, thank you for sharing that. It's so funny. We talked in the warm-up, and gosh, I wish it's so funny. I recorded that. I kind of want to share that too, but because I don't want to lose any of it. But that you touched on it, and thank you for sharing all of that. And it's so funny because I met you at that time.
Yeah.
All of that was so I guess it's been a couple years now, and it's when I was also shifting and embracing my creativity. It was really funny. It actually I broke my wrist. I broke my wrist on Christmas Day ice skating with my family, and I had this job that I loved, but it was stressful, and I had 2 young children. And it was funny because they say, like, one of the techniques to kind of get in touch with the other side of your brain is to use your non-dominant hand to write. Well, I was in the midst of organizing this huge event. I had 3 events back to back, one each month, a business summit for the entire county, a business plan competition for all the high schoolers. And then I broke my wrist. I could not just say, sorry guys, I'm out. I mean, so I'm here trying to write notes, and that was the time where I made this huge shift and just decided to honor my creativity as well. And you touched on it. There's a Brene Brown quote that really has it's kind of, for me, it's what this whole Mama Said project centers around. And the reason I'm focusing on moms, I'm not trying to, not include other types of artists, and anyone is welcome here. But I just think there's this mother guilt.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, I think all women suffer with guilt, but since becoming a mom, it almost buries me sometimes. And, in order for me to ever have time to be creative, I have to say no to something else. No to things that are very important. Like my kids, I don't think they'll ever get enough of me. And I try and remind myself that this time will pass, and people remind you that. But when you have, you have children under 5, 6, 7, and people tell you how quickly it goes, you kind of want to punch them sometimes, because yes, it does go quickly, and yet I can't put my life I can't not be me for 10 years, for 15 years, for 20 years. Like you say, your son, that's such a touching story. And I don't know. That truly is what this group is all about. I don't really have like a plan for where it's going. It's the community that I need. And I think we give each other permission when we come together and we do this, and we encourage each other, But anyways, I want to get back to you, talking. We had talked earlier in the warm-up, Eliza, about, what you do for work and how, and me too, like I wasn't able to express, my creativity. The blogging course that we met in, actually, I kind of started to feel like a failure because my creativity wasn't supporting me. It didn't mean that it wasn't financially.
Yes. Yeah.
That's only one metric to measure something. And, I just want to read that Brene Brown quote actually really quickly, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Because I think it really shows the value of what it does. Financial support is just one metric. And so anyways, the Brene Brown quote is that unused creativity is not benign. It metastasizes. It turns into grief, rage, judgment, sorrow, shame. We are creative beings. We are by nature creative. It gets lost along the way. It gets shamed out of us. And I think there's just so much shame and guilt surrounding, well, lots of things, but especially creativity, because it feels so frivolous, and it's not, what's it doing? So I don't know. You had said something really beautiful before, so I'll shut up and let you share.
Well, actually, and when I was thinking about, how we won't say, we're so reluctant to say, I'm an artist, I'm a writer. And I was thinking about that. You and I touched on that a bit, and I was thinking about that this morning. And it's interesting. If someone says to me, what do you do for exercise? What do you do for sports? I say, oh, I'm a runner. It just comes out of my mouth. That's what I do. I'm a runner. The soon as you type a sentence, or the soon as you put paint or pen to paper, you're an artist, you're a writer. But we don't say, oh, I'm a writer, I'm an artist. Well, I'm a runner, just comes right out of our mouths. So why can't we say, I'm a writer, I'm an artist? Well, we can't, because first of all, we have societal rules that an artist is someone who Stephen King and J.K. Rowling, Picasso and whatever, they're paid for their art.
Yeah.
And well, that's because they happen to be paid for their art. Now, they probably went, years, what we don't see is behind the scenes of years and years and years and years and years of not getting paid for. And we talked about, you and I talked about Elizabeth Gilbert in her book, Big Magic, where she waited tables until after Eat, Pray, and Love. She'd already written 5 books.
Yeah.
Right. And The War of Art. And I really like Austin Kleon's book, 10, I think it's 10 Ideas to Steal Like an Artist or something like that. But it's really good. And every single artist or writer, if they're being honest, they say that you have to do the mundane thing. You have to take commission work, or you have to you have to wait on tables. And you laughed when I told you what I did for a job, right? Yeah. I'm an IT project manager. Right? That is so not. And not only an IT project manager, for the tax man. Okay? Talk about lack of creativity, talk about mundane, talk about left versus right, way over here. And I struggled with it. I shared with you that for a period of time, my husband was taking me to work every day, bawling my eyes out from what you just in that quote about how when we suppress our creativity, it will manifest.
Yeah.
And I was going to work every day grieving that I was not in touch with my creative being, and that I felt that I could not express my creativity because I had this 9-to-5 job plus, the commute and everything associated in your day with that job. So,
yeah.
As it turns out, I was able to resolve the fact that I can express my creativity.
Yeah. Can you share a little bit more about that, Eliza, how you did resolve that? I mean, I think every person on the planet can relate to, that whole permission giving. I mean, it's like, for me, whenever life gets chaotic, my self-care routine is the first thing to go because, of course, it's optional, and I think that for me is really the intention behind this group is to really support one another in the fact that it's not optional. We're no good to anyone unless we do take care of ourselves, and creativity being one of those ways. But, we all come up against resistance and fear and who am I to do this? Can you share some of how you have met that resistance and fear and not obliterate it because it's going to be there. I love how Elizabeth Gilbert talks about fear and is like, invite it along for the ride. Like, you have us in this car, but you are not driving. You don't get to touch the radio. You don't get to touch the heater. How have you dealt with that?
Well, first of all, it's a definition we put on ourselves about what being creative is. And we think if I'm going to be an artist or I'm going to be a writer, I'm going to have to lock myself up for hours at a time. Okay, I'm sorry. As a mom, there are no hours at a time. There's no minute to go pee by yourself, okay? I know, I had three children under the age of 3, right, at one point in my life here. So it's not about taking hours and hours, or it's like, oh, I got to get everything set up and I need that half hour to myself. When do you get a half hour to yourself? My kids are grown. I still don't, I'm starting to get that because I carve out that time, but I still have a full-time job. So what I do is I started off actually, when I started that full year commitment to myself, I started off with Zentangling. Now Zentangling you do on 3-inch by 3-inch squares. This is tiny. This is 3 inches by 3 inches.
Yeah.
It doesn't take very long. And as a matter of fact, well, for me to do the whole thing, it takes 30 minutes. But I'm not doing 30 minutes all at once. I'm doing 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And when I need a break, when my eyes start to roll back, when I'm doing my IT stuff, I just have this on the desk beside me and I pick up my pen and I do another little doodle on here. So over the course of a day, I've done this tiny little square, but I have expressed my creativity.
Yeah.
So you have to let go of that, well, I've got to get, I'm not getting that full 30 minutes or a whole day to myself. Who does, unless that is your career and you're a paid artist and you can go into your studio for 7.5 hours a day, 8 hours a day, that ain't happening. It's just not happening for any of us. Right? So even if you take 5 minutes, even if you sit there and you write one sentence of your story, you have expressed your creativity that day, and you celebrate that rather than, oh, I was only able to do one sentence. No, hey, I got a sentence out today, woohoo! You know, it's redefining what being creative means to start with. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah, it's funny. This year, it was so funny. One of the creative projects that I worked on is, I've often written for a living, and I've worked as a newspaper journalist, and then, like, I started a blog, and I still kind of stumble to call myself a writer as well. And it's finally coming off the tongue. And this year I did this project, which was the book that we did, the Mama Said, the book, and we actually made it into a hard copy. And I don't know, there's something really freeing about not needing to make money from your creativity. And I'm not saying that I will not eventually go there, but you had shared that story about Elizabeth Gilbert, and in Big Magic, she talks so much about her pact with creativity, about how she did not want creativity to have to support her, that she would always pay the bills as long as creativity came, and inspiration came and played with her. Did you ever put together, I think I saw somewhere that you had done like a creative manifesto or something. Is that?
Oh, yeah, actually I did. That's funny. I did. I said, so I journaled it, okay? So I said, to mindfully practice abundance through the exploration of life as art.
Yeah.
Okay? Everything we do, if you look at it that way, it's art. And my husband, we talk about the fact that my husband's a chef. That is art. That is creativity when he's exploring the food. So I said, to authentically share these experiences through mixed media and the use of photography, drawing, writing words, all of which is done in full partnership with my creative being energy. Okay. So the focus isn't on making money or, being able to call myself a professional artist. It was, how do I use my creative energy? Life is art. That means even in the mundane, doing the ironing or whatever is how am I, it's finding joy and abundance in life in general. And just, we were creative, and we were created. And therefore we are creative beings.
Yeah.
That is who we are. We can't help but express ourselves. You look at your children, and they don't block themselves at all. It's as we go through life that all these societal rules and fears and doubts and get piled on us, and we own those fears and doubts. Well, we can release them. Yeah, it takes work. Trust me, it takes work. But I made in that first year, I committed to always take an art course, and I met that for 365 days. I was consistently enrolled in an art course, and it doesn't have to be expensive.
Free ones.
There are free ones. And if I wasn't enrolled, if there was something that didn't grab my attention, then I was watching YouTube videos. They're free. I have watched hundreds and hundreds of YouTube videos because I want to surround myself with that creative energy.
Yeah.
So there's ways we can go throughout our day and express creative energy and bring creative energy into our life, and it doesn't have to cost you anything or very little. You just make it a way of life.
Yeah, I love that. One of the things that I've just found out about myself, it's like, if I don't, I just have to get up early, and I get frustrated because sometimes I'll get up early and my kids will wake up too, and then I get frustrated on those days. But for the most part, if I sneak out early, my ideal day, I'll get a short walk in, and then I'll also get time to sit down, with my journal. But you're right. I love that. There's actually a quote that I hung up in my room that I look at, and it's just that our life or the way we live our life is our greatest message to the world. Yeah. And I really fell, and in fact, anybody who knows me, the last 2 years of my life, I kind of was like the poster child for thinking like, that I had to just go all in. I had to be so extreme. I had to sell everything. I had to run off, and and I'm home now. What's so funny is one of the things that I sort of reconnected with through my creativity journey was I got licensed to be a desire map facilitator. Danielle Laporte, and her, you know, I love her message about like, why are we doing this and how do we want to feel? And so for me, freedom was one of those core desired feelings that I really craved. I wanted to feel free to make my day the way that I wanted. And it's so funny, after kind of chasing this idea of freedom and, you know, other traveling families, I feel more free. I'm back in my hometown where I left, you know, I don't know, what was 2 years, basically 18 months, 2 years ago. And it feels more like freedom here to me than being on a beautiful island in Greece and being stressed, you know, that my creativity may or may not make my bills that month. You know, and Elizabeth Gilbert touches on that in Big Magic. I love that's one of the quotes that I love about, like, stop treating your creativity like a tired old hag and a duty, you know, and like, oh gosh, I didn't meet my creativity today. And, you know, I'm so grateful to connect with you again, Eliza, and just kind of hear about your process and just what an inspiration, you know. I mean, I said that to myself. I said, I don't want to have to get cancer or lose a leg or have this, like, so many times people have this like near death experience and then they have the aha, you know, and that was the gift. I mean, almost like that's the last gift your parents gave you, you know.
Yes. Yeah.
And death is for us to really be alive, you know. There's a I'll share the link in wherever, in the YouTube video or wherever, I'll figure out where to share it. But there's a documentary called I Am by Tom Shadyac. Have you seen it?
No.
Oh my gosh, everybody has to watch it. So Tom Shadyac, you might not know the name, but he is the director of Liar Liar and Bruce Almighty and all those really successful Jim Carrey movies. Well, he was in a terrible bike accident and he was like in a lot of pain and almost died and just basically like lost his will to live. And then he came back and he started questioning his whole entire life. You know, nobody could be more successful than him. He had this huge home in Malibu. He was creative. I mean, by all intents and purposes, I really love that story because as a creative, I mean, he was like, he had made it. You know, his creativity supported him. He got to do what he loved. He flew everywhere by private jet. And he ended up coming back and like selling it all. You know, he just really was looking at like, what's wrong with the world? That was his question. He says, what's wrong with the world? And he says, I am. And then he says, what's right with the world? And he says, I am. And that for me is where creativity is just this, it doesn't cost anything. The more you use it, the more you build and the more it gives. And I did this workshop in Portland and I came away and it was so funny. I had not taken 2 days to myself in 7 years because I have a 7 and a 5-year-old. And we just played around with paint. And I don't fancy myself a painter. I don't call myself a painter. But I was so like, wow, I was so wowed by what I had created and so tickled with myself. Then I left this workshop and I'm walking around the streets of Portland and I'm literally just like tears in my eyes. And I realized like, wow, like creativity, whether you write or you photograph or you create a beautiful meal, it really is our way to have control over so many things that we don't have control over. And we always can create something beautiful, you know?
Yeah.
It just hit me like a bowl of bricks. I was like, holy smokes. Like, I don't know. So anyways, yeah, sorry. I was like rambling on. I wanted to.
But it's not just, you know, you said, you know, the death, you know, the death of my parents. Yes, the death of my parents was the trigger for this. But because life is too short and knowing my dad went with regrets and things, but it was more than that. And that's even, it's, if that accident hadn't happened, turning 15 things, it was more than the death because I was carrying family rules. And there's a great book by Gay Hendricks. There's the 4 major rules that you carry. I can't remember the name of the book, but we can post it in the group. But Gay Hendricks, and it's these 4 types of rules that we carry around. And one of them was, for me, for creativity, was that you cannot make a living as an artist, and it's a hobby, and you know, and it's all this type of thing, and you know, your brother's the writer, so you leave, you know, you can't take the limelight away from your brother who's the published author, you know, that things like that. So we have to take it upon ourselves to be responsible for the examining ourselves, you know, and the rules that we carry around with us. Now, unfortunately, my parents had to die for me to realize I was carrying around these rules. Even though I've done personal development and spiritual work all my life, there was still these hardcore rules I was carrying around. And after they left, I went, oh, now I'm free to create. And it's like, whoa, where'd that come from? You know, because consciously and subconsciously, I was picking up on the fact that my father regretted that he was not free to create, right? So you have to examine what rules you're carrying around, and do they serve you? You know, and quite often these rules do not serve you at all.
No, I couldn't agree more. I just picked up that book, The Ask and Is Given Again. And but what I love about what you said, because, you know, so often, you know, the mommy guilt, we already talked about that, but I mean, how differently maybe would it have been had your father given himself permission? Do you know what I'm saying? I think as moms, we remind ourselves of that is by giving ourselves permission. Of course, we want whatever our children want. We want our children to be happy. And, you know, if we think, oh gosh, I want my child wants to be an artist, we think that we're, you know, pouring all of that permission into them. But if we don't give ourselves permission, you know, what we do is so much louder than what we say. And that was one of the catalysts for me, was realizing that I couldn't tell my kids to go after their dreams. You know, and I did. I suffered from a lot of resentment after I became a mom. I was a very footloose and fancy-free type of person. I didn't have kids until my 30s. I traveled a lot. You know, I basically just did whatever the hell I felt like. It was awesome.
Yeah.
I was broke a lot, but I sure had a lot of fun. And I was just the kind of person that experience was more important to me. And then I realized after having kids, and it just sort of hit me one day that it's like, I can't tell them to follow their dreams when I'm sitting here working at doing something and I'm not expressing myself and I'm not following my dreams. I cannot tell them, and I have to do it. I have to show them.
Yes. Yeah.
So, wow.
Yeah. So there's, and it's and even if you were to go on and say, you know, I do want to make money, you know, I mean, it's you can make money as an artist, but again, you have to redefine your rules. What do you make money at? Well, I can pretty much guarantee you that Elizabeth Gilbert is not making money off that book. She's making money off her speaking engagements.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So it's how do you express yourself and make the money? So broaden that, and it's okay to make money off of it. You know, I'm also a spiritualist, and I also do tarot readings, and I actually gave up doing that publicly. I'll do that if people ask me, but I gave up doing it publicly because the pushback being out there in cyberspace, you know, social media, was, well, you should be doing this for free. Really? You know, like I'm sorry, this is something that I have studied and trained for 20 years, is to be able to do tarot readings. I've spent money on courses and on, you know, on psychology and behavioral science and the whole bit, you know, but it's this pushback of, well, you should be able to do that for free. And then I started doing jewelry, and I gave up on the jewelry because I go on Etsy and I know how much it costs me to do the materials and the labor. And I look at something that's being sold for $3. They're barely covering their materials. So we are our own worst enemies. We undervalue ourselves, you know, like charge what you are worth, what your value is, the materials, the time, the training, the hundreds of hours of free YouTube videos you've watched. That's money, right? So we undervalue ourselves as artists, as creatives. But we got a double whammy, because women tend to undervalue themselves to begin with, right? So it's a real struggle. You got to let all that go, and you have to own yourself before you can own your art, and your creativity.
You're right. Eliza, I just wanted to ask you one last question, and so it's funny because a lot of times you'll hear people say, like, well, you know, what would you know, now looking back, you know, hindsight's 20/20, right? But you shared that beautiful story about your son. So rather than saying, like, what, you know, would you say to your younger creative self, and how would you encourage them? Well, I'm curious, you know, what did you say to your son when he said that to you, that beautiful thing about him watching you kind of really step into your own creative power, and that was what inspired him? like, you know, what did you say? How did you encourage him to follow that? Because you did share with me that it was awesome, and you'll have to send me the link. I'd love to see what he's up to.
Yeah, I said thank you.
Awesome.
And that's a big deal. That's a big deal for women. I looked at him and or it was text, I read it, and I just text back, thank you. Now, I had a beautiful friend in my life 20 years ago, and he paid me a compliment, and I started skirting all around it. He probably said my hair looked nice or something. Oh, you know, yeah, but my hair is, you know, wild hair, blah, 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 blah. And he looked at me and he just said, just say thank you. And we can't do that. As women, we cannot do that. And he was just so forthright about it that I just practiced it. And I learned over the years, it took me 20 years to just say thank you. So when my son said this, I just said thank you. Now that's the maybe unexpected but short answer. I didn't go into any big long thing. I just said thank you. That being said, though, how did I encourage my son was that my son has been determinedly, like doggedly pursuing his creative self since he was 15 years old. And he now runs his own business, studio musician, graphic designer, becoming a writer, the whole bit. And he left school. He left high school, did not get his degree. He went back and got his high school diploma as a young adult. But the whole time I kept saying, I'm sure there are people in his life that encouraged him, but I know he got a lot of pushback. But as his mom, I just kept saying, go for it. Do it now. Do it now. You know, and he's worked in kitchens since he was 15 years old, and that is a hard job. That is a physically demanding job. And he's worked in kitchens for 15 years to support his creativity. And I supported him doing that.
Sorry, I just got distracted, Eliza, because I see that, I wonder if I have to refresh my page. Bethany and Michelle were trying to join us, and they were not able to. That's so frustrating. Huh. I wonder if I can put them in here. Sorry, let me just see if they can jump in really quick and I can just say hi. Ah! I wonder, let's see. Boo, boo, boo. Rookie move, rookie move. As I was sharing with you, Eliza, I want to be doing Facebook Live for these, but they don't allow you to have a guest. So I'm trying to figure out, I'm not a techie girl. I'm trying to figure out how to let people join us. Oh, darn. I think I just missed it with them. That's so weird. When I did it before, it to let people in. It says, oh, dude, what a dork. I think I didn't hit this button that says, I don't know. I'll have to practice again. It says, the broadcast. Okay, so now it says the broadcast is shown to. What a dork. I think I didn't hit this button that says, I don't know. Oops, now I'm talking over myself. Okay, so now it says the broadcast is shown to. What a dork. I think I didn't hit this button that says. Oh, there it is. Now it's there. I don't know. Oops, now I'm talking over myself. Okay, so now it says the broadcast is shown to. What a dork. I think I didn't hit this button that says. There it is. Now it's there. Oh my gosh. How do I stop it? Okay, I had to turn that off. Are you still there, Liza?
Yeah, I'm still here.
So then it was like doing in the blog that it was doing here, and it was. Did you saw that?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, one person's still here. I can't. It's either Bethany or Michelle. Hi, Bethany and Michelle. Sorry that I'm just not competent on the tech here. This was our first go, and anyways, let me see if I can pull that up again. Thank you, Eliza. That was like, I'm so glad that we finally did connect. Because like I said, like 2 years ago, I started following you on social media and stuff, and you always post the most beautiful drawings, and I don't know, I just decided, I think it's just deciding that's what you want to do, right? Like I just decided I wanted to be around other creative people, and I was always so filled up, just I don't know if it's emotionally, spiritually, all of it. When I hang out with, I love to dance. You know, I don't play music, although this year I started taking guitar lessons. I'm going to start playing the guitar, but I just was like, I'm going to surround myself with groovy people who do groovy things. And, you know, and I do, eventually I do want to make money from this, and I'm working hard on that. But for right now, it's just, I just do it because it feels good.
Well, and that's what you have to do. You have to get rid of the naysayers. You have to say no. You have to set boundaries. All things we're not good at, right? But you know, you have to do all that, and then you have to only surround yourself with people that expand, give you a sense of expansion.
Yes.
If you're with anybody or any situation where you get that sense of contraction, that's your sign right there. That's an out, right? That's a big nope.
Well, Eliza, thank you so much for joining me. And I just, you know, I was going to wrap it up because I think keeping these things right around a half an hour, this is the first, this is a nice chunk of time, and moms can kind of squeak it in. We'll record them. So where I'm going to post this, though, is you had given such a generous offer. You're doing your own free creativity course that you're offering for people, and you said that you would offer that to the women in the Mama Said group. So when people join the Mama Said group, it's called the Mama Said Project, and that's what it's all about, is connection to creativity. We did publish a book last year, and when women join the group, they do get a free ebook copy of that. It's 29 women. There's stories and artwork. It's a beautiful book to hold in your hands, but you get a free copy of the ebook when you join the group. And then that's also where we'll be sharing the information about your course. If you just want to give like a quick synopsis of what that course is about and what people get with it, I'd love it.
Yeah, so it's not an art course, okay? It's about connecting with your creative being, and we do it slowly over the course of a month. You get an assignment a week, or you can do it all at once, but I really encourage people to take that full month to do it. And it's based on coloring pages, because that's something everyone's familiar with. So it's my artwork as coloring pages, and then we just start you know, each month we start working through different assignments. So I give you, you know, you download a black and white, just the drawing, and then we work through different things and different media. So colors, pencils, watercolor, the whole bit. In the end, we end up making a little card, and it's inspiration, it's support for getting in touch with your creative self. Each lesson has sort of a fear that we face, and what that lesson supports breaking through. So it's a lot of fun. So yeah, so if I really encourage women to prep for it, but I'm very happy if you post the assignments in the Mama Said group and keep it, you know, within that group. I'm cool with that, and we can, you know, I'll pop in there and chat and stuff. So
Awesome. Yeah, I love it. All right, Eliza, well, thank you so much. So again, what people can do is I will put the link below this YouTube video, and then you and I can send the video out via our, you know, mailing list and whatnot, and put it in the group, and we'll have all the links there that that people need. But it was really a pleasure to connect with you. I hope to chat with you again soon. And yeah, thanks for a fun time.
Thank you, Tiffany. It's great. Thanks.
Talk soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.